everyone, so in today's video I'm bringing you this cowboy boy beat. In reality, it's just a boy beat look that is more focused on really cool sunburn, and I put on a cowboy hat. But in all seriousness, I love these more androgynous looks, and in today's video I wanted to do like a super minimal base, a really fun fake sunburn, which is one of my favorite makeup looks to do, and then a more rough feathery eyebrow. This is very similar to a video I've already done, the sunburn and boyish eyebrow tutorial. I'll leave that link down below, but I wanted to do kind of an updated version of that with products that I've been using recently. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, if you like it, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and that way I know. And of course, I hope you'll subscribe and check out some of my other videos. And with all of that, let's just jump into the tutorial. This makeup look isn't about perfecting the skin a lot. I really want any pigmentation to shine through. This is definitely not full coverage, but my approach to it is I'm trying to get as skin-like of a finish onto my skin while concealing, you know, some of the spots, like I have a pimple here, but then leaving any of the freckles you have, the more small bits of hyperpigmentation. We want those to shine through. It's really going to give the illusion of us being out in the sun. And it's kind of weird, you know, we talk so much about sun protection and how it's so important, and we don't really embrace hyperpigmentation often, but with a look like this, I feel like you really can, and it looks really awesome. So I'm first just gonna prep my skin a little bit because my skin's being a little bit finicky with the changing of seasons, hence the breakout. So I'm gonna put a little bit of the Coconut Skin Priming Moisturizer on like my cheek area and under my eyes. Add just the slightest touch of this De-Bronzy Serum from Drunk Elephant. That's gonna help give us a little bit more of a bronzed effect, but it's not gonna look like a lot of bronzer whatsoever. It looks very natural. See, it gives a really nice sheen to the skin. And then I'm going to put a little bit of this Pores Be Gone matte primer over any of the areas I want more matte. So mostly on my nose, my chin, up here where I have this pimple, that'll help kind of conceal it a little bit. I love these primers so much. I talk about them a lot on my channel. I think they're so underrated. I'll actually leave the review I did comparing these primers down below in case you're interested. So the skin is prepped, it looks hydrated, and now we're going to go in with a very light coverage foundation. This is as sheer as it gets. It's the MAC Face and Body, but I also recommend, if you want, you can just go in with concealer. But because I want this to be like super seamless and I'm using quite a bit of blush, I actually want to go in and give the product just a little bit more to cling on to, and the MAC Face and Body will really do that. We're not going to go crazy with this, adding like that much to my fingers. Make sure that when you use this product, you mix it between your fingers before you apply it. It stiffens up the product a little bit and it gets a little bit less runny. And then when you apply it, you get way more coverage than you would otherwise. You barely even need a mirror to apply this. Like, my mirror's over here, and I'm just using the viewfinder. As you can see there, see that spot? It covered it up just a little bit, just enough. I really like this foundation. It's incredibly natural. I didn't like it at first, but I definitely, it's grown on me a lot. So the skin looks pretty glowy right now. But the thing is you can take away glow. It's really hard to add moisture back into the skin, at least if you have my skin type, because I do have dry skin. We're just going to conceal a few spots. We don't have to go crazy with this. I'm just gonna conceal a little bit under my eyes, and that's really it. Maybe just a touch on my nose and that spot right there. A tip I do in pretty much every tutorial, by the way, this was the Maybelline Fit Me concealer. It's a tried and true, it's the shade Fair. I always leave it to set on my face a little bit. It ends up giving more coverage when you just let it sit for a little. And now we can just softly blend this in. You can definitely tell that I have like quite a bit of shine going on. The reason I did that is because my skin is really dry right now, again with the changing in seasons, but I would more so recommend going with some products that have a little bit more of like a skin-like finish, and skin isn't super dewy. Go with something that is more like satin. But what I'm going to do to compensate for that is actually use a little bit of powder. This is the Wet n Wild pressed powder, the photo focus one, and it's one of my favorites. And I'm just applying it where I need it. So definitely in this area here, a little bit under my eyes. We're not going crazy with it. Already you can tell that it takes down the shine in a way that's really nice, but my skin doesn't look flat. So I switched up the light a little bit just so you guys could get a more clear idea of the texture and the tone of my skin. So I've already started to put a little bronzer down here. You know, there's not a ton of coverage on here, but we've managed to cover the areas that we actually want covered, and we're letting everything else shine through. Like, you know, all these freckles are shining through. Now we're getting into the sunburn part of this, and in my previous tutorial on how to do a sunburnt makeup look, I actually used the Glossier Cloud Paints, and I love using those for a more sunburnt look, but I've also really been loving a couple of these other products that I'm using today. I wanted to switch it up. So first, to kind of set down a little bit more of a bronze look, we're gonna go in with the Milk Makeup Matte Bronzer. And we don't want to go too crazy with this because I think it looks way more realistic when you use mostly blush, on my skin tone at least. So just this little bit I think is enough for me personally. It's going to help everything mesh well together and give it a more realistic look. But to get a true sunburnt look, I think it's really about making the skin very dimensional and really layering up products in different colors. What I'm going to layer on top of this, in pretty much the same areas I've already used it, is the ColourPop blush stick in the shade Roosevelt. I've already talked about this. I have a full review on it and I'll leave it linked down below, but I love this blush. This one's slightly more pigmented than the Milk Makeup, so keep that in mind. I'm gonna start blending that in the same areas, like almost on top of the bronzer, and adding it to areas where the sun would naturally hit the skin. So the nose is huge. I love the look of some sunburn on the nose. And I'm layering it on top of that. So you can see there how it's slowly starting to come together. Those two colors are meshing to give like a more realistic color. And again, we're just slowly building this up. We don't have to go in with a lot of product at once. You could very easily overdo it, which kind of takes away from the makeup looking not very apparent. So I feel pretty good about that. I think we're really starting to get that out in the sun look to our skin. And now we just want to amplify those certain areas where you really see the burn coming through. For me, that's like right here. When I get burnt, I usually get burnt right in here and right here on my nose as well. We're going to really amp up the color in these areas, and what I'm going to use for that is the shade Sunset Sky from N Cosmetics. This is a liquid blush that I adore. It's very pigmented, so you don't need a lot, but this is incredible at giving that really amplified burnt look. I'm just going to use my fingers so I can really control how much I'm using. So again, going in right in the areas I would typically burn. See how even like the slightest bit, and it already looks like there's some true sunburn going on there. I don't mind actually getting quite close under the eye because that's where I normally burn. Adding some to the nose. Add as much or as little as you're comfortable with, but I don't mind going a little bit crazy. Now I'm just going to gently press my beauty blender into those areas to kind of mesh everything together. I'm going to add just a touch more powder to kind of set down. That M Cosmetics blush is pretty dewy, so I'm just going to add a touch more powder. All right, we're all zoomed in closer because we're gonna tackle these eyebrows. If you're new to my channel, I love a very bold eyebrow and I'm not afraid to go bold. I think it's okay to accentuate some of the areas that are less manicured. For me, it's in here, it's on the tail end, you know, accentuate those areas. I like to go under my eyebrow because that's where I find it ends up looking the most natural. I'm using my Anastasia Brow Wiz in medium brown. I went with medium brown just because I feel like it's slightly darker than my eyebrows and that'll kind of give a more bold effect. Try to make sure that it doesn't come off really blocky because we're really going more the feathery route. So you can see there just the difference. This is kind of a little bit more lifted, but it's not like there's a ton of product being used. Doing the same thing on this side. Does everyone have like a favorite brow to do? Mine kind of switches, but usually it's this one. I find that this one's a lot easier to do because it has more hair. What would we do without spoolies? I'm telling you, I don't know what I would do. All right, here's the secret for a more androgynous brow. It's Glossier Boy Brow. No surprises here, and I use the shade Clear, and I sweep all of these hairs up. The rest can kind of get swept back in a way, but we really want these front eyebrow hairs to be like as straight up as possible. Not a issue with my eyebrows because the hairs are quite long. See how like feathery Glossier Boy Brows in Clear in specific, it might be like my favorite eyebrow product, period. We're going to leave the lips bare. You can do a little bit of chapstick. I already have a little bit on, but leaving the lips bare will end up making the rest of the makeup look more believable, I think. The last thing we're going to do is highlight any of the freckles that we have on our skin, just to, again, bring out that out in the sun look, you know, that skin damaged look. I'm using Freck. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this. It's meant to be like add your own freckle kind of product. It's not bad. A makeup look like this, it's super convenient. See that one? Just gonna dab this onto those, then just a finger, clean finger, and they're brought back. I don't have as many on this side, oddly enough. Get that one, that one. It's these little details that make it just that more believable. And that's the completed look, everyone. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. Just a really fun, updated, more androgynous makeup look that I like to do. If you enjoyed it, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up. That always helps me out. And of course, I hope you'll subscribe and check out some of my other videos. And with all of that, I will see you in my next one.